Zelensky confirms deadly clashes with North Korean troops as Putin says he's willing to talk with Trump. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky speaks at a press conference during the European Political Community Summit in Budapest, Hungary, November 7, 2024. CNN, North Korean troops deployed to Russia's Kursk region have fought Kiev's forces on the battlefield. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Thursday, adding that the clashes resulted in the fatal fatalities. Zelensky said 11,000 North Korean soldiers are in the region where Ukraine's 3-month military incursion into Russian territory has stalled. 11,000 North Korean soldiers or soldiers of North Korean army are currently present on the territory of the Russian Federation in the border with Ukraine on the north of our country in the Kursk region, Zelensky told reporters at the European Political Community Summit in Budapest, Hungary on Thursday. Some of these troops have already taken part in hostilities against the Ukrainian military. Yes, they are already losses. This is fact. He did not specify which side suffers the losses. The New York Times reported earlier this week that the number of North Korean troops had been killed in the limited engagement with the Russian and Ukrainian forces, citing senior US and Ukrainian officials. The announcement of their use in combat comes as the United States and its allies weigh how to respond to the escalating military partnership between Moscow and Pyongyang. Ukraine and its NATO allies are also gauging how the re-election of US President-elect Donald Trump will impact the balance of the war and are bracing for the possibility of the dramatic reduction in U.S. support 2.5 years after Moscow invaded. On Thursday, Russian President Vladimir Putin made his first public comment on the U.S. election, saying he's ready for dialogue with the Republican president-elect and noted that Trump's comment on ending Russia's war in Ukraine deserve attention at the very least. We are ready, the Russian leader said when asked whether he would hold talks with Trump while addressing the discussion forum in the Black Sea resort city of Sochi. Putin congratulated Trump on his election victory and praised his courageous conduct following an assassination attempt in July. Trump has said he would end the war in 24 hours and suggested that Ukraine should have given up a little bit to Moscow. Throughout his election campaign, Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance cast strong doubt on continuous U.S. commitment to Kiev and made comments that suggest the U.S. could pressure Ukraine into an uneasy truce with Russia. Zelensky has repeatedly pushed back at suggestions of making concessions to Russia. Trump has not elaborated on how he would quickly end the war, but former US CNN Moscow bureau chief Jill Doherty said it essentially would freeze everything in place, which means that the Russians would be holding the Ukrainian territory that they've won, and then they would somehow come to territorial concessions, including Ukraine likely giving up Donbass and Crimea, according to Doherty. Adjunct professor at Georgetown University Center for Eurasian, Russian, and East European Studies. Russia escalates attacks in Ukraine. Trump's election to a second term comes at a precarious moment in the war. Ukraine is under fierce pressure on the front lines, where each army chief has warned his forces are facing one of the most powerful Russian offensives since the start of the war. Moscow is also unleashing near constant waves of long-range drone strike on Ukrainian cities and fired decoy drones without warhead to overwhelm Ukraine's air defense, according to a spokesperson for Ukraine's Air Force. Zelensky warned Monday that since the last fall, Moscow had increased tenfold its attacks using Iranian-made Shahid drones, and in the capital there has only been one night without a drone attack since September 1st. Ukrainian president said from Budapest Thursday that the leaders are not listening hard enough to his pleas to allow Kiev to use the long-range weapons as it faces the new wave of escalation involving the army of another state in the war against Ukraine. To counter Ukraine's surprise Kursk offensive, the first ground invasion of Russia by the foreign power since World War II, Putin has bolstered his military's manpower with North Korean forces, according to the US, South Korea, and Ukraine. US officials had warned that around 10,000 North Korean troops are in the Kursk region and would be expected to enter combat against Ukraine. But Zelensky fears the greater role for North Korean troops if its allies fail to exert more pressure on Putin. We believe that if we do not use the appropriate weapons and political pressure on the Russian Federation, the next step may be much more use of North Korean contingent, he said. CNN's Catherine Nicholas, Sebastian Shukla, Lauren Kent, Daria Tarasova, Markina, and Christian Edward contribute to the reporting.